So today I'd like to talk to you about creating a custom sound using key groups. And this is a method that I'm going to show you that I really like to use. I think it's really good. Even if you're kind of a beginner, this method is pretty easy. You don't have to know a huge amount about sound design to get started with this method. But even if you know a lot about sound design, this method I think is really fast, fun, and kind of immediate. So it can really yield some nice sounds. I think you're going to like it a lot. Hi, my name is Joe. If you're new to my channel, then welcome. And if you're already a subscriber, then welcome back. It's great to see you again. So this is basically just a 3-step process, or maybe 4, depending on how you look at it. First, we're going to assemble a unique sound using stuff that's already built into the force. After we do that, we're going to auto-sample it into a key group. And then third, we're going to adjust those key group properties to kind of refine that sound and make it more like what we want, and also add some effects to make it more interesting. So it's really pretty simple. Let's get into it. Okay, so here I've just got an empty project with a plugin, and this is Hype Synth that we're using. I actually think Hype is really great for using this kind of thing for a couple reasons, mainly because it's got a whole bunch of different sounds in it, and it's just very easy to tweak these sounds using just a very few controls, everything that is really on just a few different pages right here. So let me go ahead and first put my knobs into screen mode, and we're going to pick a preset here. Let's go ahead and for this one, go down to the init sounds and pick wavetable. So what I'm going to try to do with this first sound is just get the base of the sound. So I want really kind of a static sound, I think, for this one, something that doesn't have a whole lot of movement in it. We're just going to pick this to be kind of like the main meat of the sound. So let's find something. So starting with the wavetable init. So you can hear that we've got kind of a sweeping sound in here. There's already some movement, and that's because this is a wavetable and we're sweeping it with this envelope sweep parameter. So let's go ahead and zero that out so that it has no movement in it, and let's use this macro 2 to try to choose from some sounds that we might like. Yeah, I think Riso Sweep 4 sounds like a good sound to me. I think I like this for kind of our bass tone. So the next thing let's do is let's maybe add an attack to the sound, kind of a transient attack. I want kind of maybe a ding on the front of it, just something to give it some definition and character. Let's look for something like that. So the next thing I'm going to do is add another track here, and we can actually just copy this track. And that way it'll already have Hype on it. So I'll just do copy track 1 to track 2. And I'm going to set this track up. I'm going to set the MIDI properties of this track up to route to the other track. That way we'll be able to hear both instances of Hype Synth when we are playing a single one on the force. So let's get that set up. To do that, you can either double click on the properties for this track, or another shortcut is you can just hold down the edit button and double tap this track 2. That'll take you into the track settings. And if we come down here to the MIDI section, we can do a MIDI send. And we're just going to send this back to plugin 1, which is on this first track right here. Good, so let's edit this. And now if I go back into note mode, you won't be able to hear it too well, but I'm actually playing both of these synths at once. It just sounds a little bit louder. So let's go for that attack sound. I think for this one, I'm going to come into, let's do pitch percussion. This should have some good sounds in it. And that might be a good starting point. So when I'm trying to create this bass sound that we're going to use in the auto sampler, I really don't want any effects on it or anything. I mean, there's not a rule saying that you can't, but I'm just trying to give you some guidelines for how to make this easy and, have a pretty good chance of getting a good sound out of it at the end. So let's go through and take all the effects off of this and see what it sounds like. And I'm liking that. Maybe if we come over here to the setup tab and we turn down the global volume on this just a bit. And I think maybe I'll transpose this and bring it up an octave. Yeah, I think that's a good starting point. So I tell you what, let's add one more synth. So it'll be 3 hype synths total. So I'm going to add another track and do the same MIDI routing trick, and then we're going to look for another sound to kind of fill this in just a little bit. So let's go ahead and hold down copy, and we'll copy track 2 over to track 3. Also, we'll set up the track routing on this. Edit, double tap track 3. And so for this one, we can send this back to plugin 0101, which is our second track. So our third track will be sending to our second track. Our second track will be sending to our first track. And this way we'll be able to play all 3 of these hype synths from track 3. Okay, let's go ahead and pick that other preset now. Let's try something from Pad Warm. That might be an interesting one. Let's take the effects off of this one and see what it sounds like. I think I like that. Let's also go in here and take the volume all the way down on this and just bring it back slowly in and see what that sounds like. So. Okay, so based on 3 hype synths, we've assembled a brand new sound, basically, right? So the next step in this process is going to be to use the auto sampler, and we're going to take a sample of all 3 of these synths at the same time, and we'll convert that into a key group, and then we'll be able to start modifying it further. So let's set that up. So I've got the sampler on my shortcuts here. We'll just come into the sampler, and we're already on track 3, so that's going to be the basis for it. And just on the sampler here, we'll go ahead and set this to resample the left and right output. And then we'll touch this button here to come into the auto sampler. Now in this video, I'm not going to go through the auto sampler in great detail because I've already got a full video on the auto sampler. So if you haven't already watched that yet, or if you just need a refresher, I'm going to put that into the description of this video, and you can add that to your watch list and watch it after this video or whenever you like. But if you watch that, you're really going to have a great idea of how the auto sampler works. And in this one, I'll just breeze through it so I don't repeat myself. So I think for this one, C2 to C4 is a good range. I think 6 is going to be a good note stride for this, and we can go ahead and extend the min and max notes. We're just going to do a single layer. And I'm going to extend this time out, probably maybe 7 seconds. Let's listen here. Yeah, I think that's fine. And let's leave the tail at 1 second. I'll change the name here, and we'll just call this maybe like my key group. And for this one, I'm going to turn the looping off. I think we could actually make this a much more efficient sample RAM-wise by leaving the looping on and finding the loop points. I just don't want to take the time to go through it in this video. So again, check out the auto sampling video for more details on that. But for this will be fine. Auto trim start is fine, and I think we're good to go. It says it's going to take up 32 seconds to complete, so I'll go ahead and hit do it. Okay, the Force has created a new key group for us. Let's check that out. So we're on track 4 here, where our new key group is. I think it sounds pretty good, but obviously we're going to need to add some release to that. So let's go set that up in the synth properties for the key group. I'll hold down edit and press my 4th track. We'll come over here to the envelopes, and I want to make sure that this key group, because there are 5 of them, if you check this out, 5 different key groups here. So when I'm adjusting the release time, I want to set this to all, and that way it changes the release time for all 5 of the key groups at once. And I think that sounds like a pretty good release time for a going in position. Let's go ahead and get an effect on this track. So I don't want to do this within the key group because I want this effect to apply to the entire sound. So I don't want to have to go through and add that to each key group individually. Let's go ahead and set this up on the track itself. So I'll come into my mixer, we'll come to effects, and I think first here, let's try to add a delay. And I'm just going to adjust some properties for this. I'm going to bring the mix down quite a bit. And I think we'll leave this tempo synced. And maybe I'll make this a slower delay, like maybe even a quarter note. Can probably bring that feedback up some. I think I even like the half note delay. And maybe we can widen this up a bit more. Cool, I like the way that's sounding for now. So let's go and adjust some more key group properties. I think I'd like to add some legato portamento to this sound to kind of spice it up a little bit. So if we come back into the key group properties, we'll come over to the portamento tab, and we'll turn on this legato switch. Legato will make the legato only happen if you're holding down a note and then hit another note while that's held down. And then all we need to do is turn up the portamento time. I think that sounds really good. Let's add a little bit of filter to this. So we'll come over here to the second envelope tab. That's our filter. And we've already got a low pass 2 filter, which is a 12 dB filter. I think that's going to be a nice sound for this. It's not too steep. So we'll go ahead and turn down the cutoff. And let's add some resonance to really kind of bring that sound out. If this video has been helpful for you in any way, it would mean a lot to me if you'd go ahead and hit the like button for me. That helps the channel, and it also helps me know which videos you really like to see. So thanks for that. Let's add another effect to this. I'm going to try the air enhancer, which I think is really kind of a unique effect. It's kind of a combination between like an equalizer and also kind of a distortion or saturation module, but it can really change the sound pretty drastically. Let's try it. So I'll come back to the mixer. I think I want to actually add this in front of the delay. And it's here under EQ filter, the air enhancer. And with this one, I just like to start with some presets to kind of get into the ballpark and then tweak from there. I like that sound for this. I think let's bring the output back up some. I like this transparency. It just kind of thins the sound out a little bit, and I think this is going to be, you know, not necessarily a lead sound, so I don't want it to be too strong. And let's maybe try to add some harmonics to this. I like it. So I want to add, I think, just a little bit of movement into the sound for when these notes are sustained or held out, just because it seems a little bit static other than the delay. So let's go back and adjust some more synth parameters. This time I think I'll come over here to the LFO, and let's do some tremolo. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up this LFO to amplitude. We'll kind of start with things strong and then, back it down into something a little bit more subtle. And we can adjust the speed of this LFO. I feel like I hit it a little bit too hard with the harmonics on the air enhancer here. So let's compare the bass sound that we made with the 3 different hype synths to what we have now. To do that, all we have to do is go back and check out the 3rd track again. So here's what we sampled. Actually listening to the sounds individually, here's just the first bass sound. Here's the bass sound plus the attack. Here's all 3 of our sounds. And here's what we've turned it into with the key group. I really like that. So all we need to do to save this thing is hit the save button. And we would go ahead and save it as a key group. And that would save all of the samples. It would save all the parameters that we set up within the key group, and it would save the effects on the track as well, so that the next time we want to use this, all we have to do is recall it and it's ready to go. So I think that even if this is easy, it's a really fun way to design sounds because you get to kind of hear everything in a very live manner, right? With the 3 different hype synths that are all chained together, you can kind of hear what they sound like before you go into the auto sampling process. And that way you have a pretty good idea what you're going to be starting with when you get into a key group. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I think with this technique you could make thousands and thousands of unique sounds. So hopefully this gets your brain working and gives you some ideas on places that you could start. Until next time, this is Joe.